Hello, this is Alan Wheeler, and it's after work on a Friday evening. I'm still here at the office to make a short video. I believe the title will be something like Deviant Moon Tarot gives guardrails to your path. This is my YouTube channel that recently I've been recording items on the spirituality and tarot. Also, my habit has been to introduce items from my altar until I run out or start forgetting. And here on my altar at work, I have a gift from a coworker. It's a little action figure, and it's Samwise from Lord of the Rings. And I think she gave it to me because tend to be a team player. I don't mind taking the back seat or being second and still being satisfied, just like Sam was glad to assist his friend in his heroic quest. So that I keep that here on my altar at work. So the strange title, Deviant Moon Tarot gives guardrails to your path, came from some recent reflections of mine as I thought about what won't I believe? What's going too far in following a alternate path or coming up with my own path, basically. And one of the things that fueled my thinking has been a recent show on Netflix called Messiah. And I'll try to deal with it without giving too many spoilers here. But I've watched the first 10 episodes, which are season 1, if it goes on, and I feel the writers and directors, producers did a great job of leaving things ambiguous. In other words, even after 10 episodes, I'm not sure if this is a real Messiah, a charlatan, or a lunatic who thinks he's Messiah. And this is because I think the show presents real responses from true believers, from people who are just following to get some need met and then dropping off, complete skeptics and secular critics. There are CIA, I think it is, or FBI agents following, and so it's almost a realistic look at how would people respond to a Jesus figure appearing today. I don't feel like they've answered the question for us. So it led me to some of these thoughts. And in contemplating, I think there's just some places I just can't go. It's going too far for me. And hence I describe that as guardrails that I would put up for myself. For example, I just can't get along anymore with the idea of being too rigid, kind of the being hateful to those who have other beliefs, not being open and accepting. That's just something, I can't do that anymore. On the same token, in trying to find my own path, though I can get caught up in the inspiration and emotions like anyone else, I do have kind of times when I feel cold of heart and or look at things with more of a cynical eye, and at those times I feel I can't follow a path that's completely unreasonable. It needs to make some kind of common sense and be something that outsiders could understand. And just in my thing, that's just things I'm thinking through. So my question in drawing 3 cards from the Deviant Moon Tarot is how to avoid dangerous extremes when walking alternate paths. This is my question. And I drew 3 cards, and I sat with them and wrote down some of the things I think these cards bring to the surface. The first card I pulled was the 9 of Cups, and the story in the guidebook is that this figure has found a lamp on the beach, and in cleaning it off, a genie has appeared. And the 9 cups are there swirling around this magical genie on the moonlit shore. And what this card brings to mind for me is there's a guardrail. We need to watch out for just wish fulfillment. In other words, I don't want to live in my own little world that I've created just in my own mind. I think that's called solipsism. On the same token, I think we do need to be authentic and look to what resonates with ourselves, what sits well with our own conscience. And so we need to balance that perhaps, but getting caught up in one's own little world reminds me that there is a balance between the esoteric and the exoteric. And there's a sense in which we have the truth. And for me anyway, I would want to include any human thought in my thinking process, whether it's an atheist or an agnostic or a polytheist. And I've done videos about this kind of thing. Just within the Christian faith, there's the idea that we have the mind of Christ, that there's that the divine speaks through the group, not just through one person. And there's an old story of some rabbis who are sitting around arguing. I think it's 3 rabbis arguing about a theological point in the law. And a young rabbi says, if lightning strikes this tree right now, I am correct. And lightning comes crashing down and strikes the tree aflame. But the older rabbi says, no. We decide these things. And so that is a balance to the essence that we create truth. Yes, we create our own path, but there's I see a balance there, that I don't want to be in my own solipsistic little world. This card also reminds me not to be unreasonable, and I think I mentioned that in the introduction here. However, the flip side of that, being unreasonable, I mean just dispensing with all common sense and what is fact in the, not just the consensus reality, but the observable world, if it contradicts what we say our faith is. On the other side of that, the flip side, is that pure empiricism, believing only what you can see, is cold and has no heart and leaves out a lot of things like love and compassion and arts and all kinds of things. So, but this card is a good reminder, and it also brings in this idea of wishing and just the magical, expecting to be saved, whether it's by a Messiah or a magic spell, through no effort of your own, through no commitment of your own. And so this, whether it's religious thinking or magical thinking, it's very much the same. It's a little outlandish. So this card is a good warning for me in that regard. The next card that I drew was the Queen of Pentacles, again in the Deviant Moon Tarot. And this, he depicts this figure holding a large coin, and the story in the guidebook is that she is coming to help these poor dolls that are left out in the street here, kind of in a mothering way. So, first of all, this card brings up the being in the earth suit. It brings up for me the physical side of spirituality. And whether it's Mother Earth or pictures of the divine, rituals, practices, it brings to mind those things. Now, I think the danger here is that physical things or lesser things can take the place of what is most high. And the ancient Jewish faith, as well as some of the Hindu writings, did a good job of warning against idolatry. And of course, we realize that the statue itself or the painting itself is just a representation and not literal deity. But this was a warning that came through those ancient religions, putting too much emphasis maybe on the physical. Now, the flip side of that is that we can get too hyper-spiritual and too abstract and leave out completely the physical realm and the necessary ritual and the legitimate iconography or the images that are helpful to faith. This card also shows the figures. I don't know if it can be seen here, but she's stepping on one of those dolls and actually hurting it. So she's ignoring their true needs in a way and rushing headlong to meet maybe some physical needs. Again, this is from the guidebook by Patrick Valenza. And I think this is something that religion can do. It can be, religious duty can become self-serving sometimes and ignore what its true aims might be. So this is a good warning in a sense. The last card I drew was again in the Earth suit of Pentacles, and it's the 5 of Pentacles. And here, the story from the guidebook is that of a young lady of the evening, Patrick Valenza calls her, looking for help in the night and coming across a church door here, represented by that stained glass and the 5 pentacles above, but the door is closed, and fearfully peeping out is that large eyeball that you can see there. And this warns me against at least 2 things. One is the cultishness of organized religion, when we become too wrapped up in our own little group, and that fearful eyeball is a good representation of that. While there is a legitimate place for identity, having an identity, having a community, being with like-minded people, the walls can become too impermeable. The doors can be closed and locked, as in this picture. The other is rigidity that I mentioned in the introduction, and when the exoteric or organized religion, when those rules begin to defeat their purpose, when there is no freedom. And this is one of those things I can't get on with anymore, and that is the giving no freedom to the individuals and being excluding of those with different perceptions or different ideas. I think it's true that sometimes our hearts long for stability and foundation, and I think some things are foundational, which is part of my spiritual search, maybe all of us. And Confucius would be an example of kind of legalism that was set up with good intentions, because he thought if we know our places, society runs smoothly, everyone's happy, there's not needless abrasion and friction going on. And there may be some truth in that, but so oftentimes it leads to oppression, foot binding, and the terrible things that we see. So this card's a good warning. This is where it goes too far, and we may need some guardrails for ourselves when things reach that point. So those are the contemplations that came from sitting with the Deviant Moon Tarot, and this question of how to avoid dangerous extremes when walking alternate paths. I'm sure I'll be revisiting some of these ideas as these are perennial issues that keep going. But thank you for watching, and if you have other ideas, please comment. And as always, I hope you find feelings of connection with people in your life, in online community, and on your spiritual path, whatever that might be. Thanks for watching, and take care.